I'd like to welcome you to the Science, Industry, and Business Library. This evening's program is Pricing Your Product or Your Service, a break-even analysis primer. Our presenter tonight is Amini Kanjuju. She's the Executive Director of the workshop Business Opportunities, also known as WEBA. Amini.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to make a presentation to you today about break-even analysis. Let me start with the definition of break-even analysis. Break-even is the amount of sales, cost, and price at which there is neither a loss nor a gain in business. Another way to put it is break-even is the volume where all fixed expenses are covered. The key to break-even is price. You must ask yourself, at what price will I break even? At what price will I make a profit? Let me illustrate the importance of break-even analysis based on this true story. Rita, who is a WEBO graduate, has a business making pillows, bed coverings, and linens. A famous businesswoman became interested in her products, and over time they struck a deal to sell pillows in her famous catalog. Rita sold the pillows to this famous person's catalog for $60. However, after doing a break-even analysis with the WEBO consultant, Rita discovered that it cost her $54 to manufacture each pillow. Rita's gross profit was $6 or 10% of the selling price. 10% of the selling price would go to paying overhead or indirect cost, or otherwise known as fixed cost. Since she did not perform a break-even analysis, Rita was surprised to see that she was actually losing money. Offering the pillows at the low price of $60, Rita is only covering her direct cost and barely covering her indirect cost. The reason that we have this sample in this presentation is to give you an idea of how you can use break-even analysis to make sound business decisions. It is also to introduce to you words like direct cost, indirect cost, gross profit. You will receive a definition and example of these key concepts. Remember in the beginning, I said that the key to break-even is price. Well, let me say that the key to finding the right price for your products or services is cost. As a business person, you must determine the cost of your business and allocate them properly into two categories. We will start with direct cost. Direct costs are costs that rise or fall in direct proportion with sales or costs directly related to the sale, manufacture, provision of the product or service. So if your sales go up, then your direct costs go up. If your sales go down, your direct costs goes down in the same proportion. Here's an example of a fictitious shoe store called Lee's Shoe Shop. And these are Lee's direct costs for one pair of shoes. The wholesale price of the shoe, the sales and commission, the delivery and shipping of the shoe, the shoe box, and the shoe brush. And when we add up all those costs, we have $10.12 per shoe. These are his direct costs. Direct costs vary from businesses, from industry, and in fact, I'll show you two more examples of sample direct costs from other types of businesses. This next business is a baker, and the unit of sale here is 1 8-inch loaf of cake. 1 8-inch loaf of cake. And here you will see all the direct costs related to making this one loaf of cake. And you'll also see that we've included labor. It's very important that a business person determines where labor fits in their business in terms of cost. In some cases, you can allocate your labor costs in both cost category, that is indirect and direct costs. It's never a good idea to ignore labor as one of your costs. In this sample, we have a service company that provides workshop, and the unit of sale here is a 2-day workshop for 20 people. Typically, when it requires a particular expertise for you to provide the service, again, labor costs become important. And for those of you in service industries, such as graphic designers, bakers, consultants, lawyers, it's very important that you determine your labor costs and typically allocate it into your direct costs because it directly relates to the provision of providing that service. You've heard me mention the word unit price or unit of sale. One of the most important steps in determining your break-even point is correctly identifying a unit of sale. A unit of sale is a product or service that represents a typical or average sale in your business. And here we have some examples. A restaurant, it could be a broiled salmon dinner. A general contractor, 1 complete kitchen renewal. A music teacher, 1 hour of piano lessons. Dell Computer Corp, 1 Dell Dimension desktop. Martha Stewart Living Magazine, 1 new advertiser. These are just some examples of unit of sale that you may find in a particular business. It is possible for a business to have more than 1 unit of sale, and therefore you would perform a break-even analysis for each unit of sale. We've discussed direct cost, and now we're going to discuss the second type of cost, which is indirect cost. Indirect or fixed cost. The cost you must cover whether you make a sale or not. Otherwise put, these are non-negotiable expenses. You can negotiate the amount sometimes, but you cannot negotiate whether you can pay them or not. And examples are rent, utilities, telephone, legal and accounting, insurance, loan payments, labor, office equipment, postal services. Indirect costs are general operating costs that are typical to most businesses. These costs are typically calculated on a monthly basis, which is different from your direct costs, which are calculated on a per unit of sale basis. Here's an example of lease shop indirect costs. Again, these tend to be typical operating costs for most businesses. As you see there, rent, you see salary, you see utilities, you see phones, insurance, stationery, legal and accounting. These are costs that you must incur whether you make a sale or not. What is gross profit or markup? Gross profit, the profit you make before covering your indirect cost or fixed cost. So in this example, Lee's shoe shop, his income from sales of the shoes is $12,500. When you subtract the direct cost or the cost of goods sold, $7,500, you're left with a gross profit of $5,000. That $5,000 is what he will use to pay to cover his indirect costs. Here are 2 other samples of gross profits. Your goal as a business person is to have enough gross profit to cover your cost, and whatever is left over is your net profit. Your net profit can then typically be put back into your business to help it grow. And depending on the type of business that you're in, you may have low or high margins. Margins, whether high or low, have different implications on your bottom line. And you can see in these 2 examples, both businesses are generating $5,000 a month in sales, but both have different amounts that are left over to pay for their indirect cost. In the graphic design business, after direct costs are paid for, gross profit is $3,750. In the children's book business, at least in this particular business, the business is only left with $250 to pay for their indirect cost. This monthly P&L statement shows a relationship between costs and your bottom line profit. The income from sales for this business is $12,500. That is how much sales they're bringing in. Once they subtract direct costs or cost of goods sold, you're left with $7,500. The gross profit is $5,000. And you see there a list of all the indirect costs. You have to pay for rent, you have to pay some salaries, and the fringe benefits that come with that, utilities, phone. Once you subtract that, once you add those costs up and you have $4,250, and you subtract it from $5,000, you're left with $750 as net profit. You've paid all of your bills, and you have $750 left per month to do as you wish. Now on the flip side, if the gross profit had been $4,250 and the indirect costs totaled $5,000, then there would be a net loss of $750. This profit planning guide is a guide that is typically used in the Weeble workshop to help our entrepreneurs understand how to determine the best price in order to break even or to make a profit. The first thing we have to do is determine our unit of sale. And in this case, we have one pair of shoes. The second thing you have to determine is how many pairs of shoes a month can you provide to your customers. It's very important. And in this case, in this business, they determined that they can provide 630 pairs of shoes for their customers per month. And on the third step is we've plugged in 1012. This is Lee's shoe shop. We've plugged in 1012 from slide 5. Remember back in slide 5, we listed all the direct costs and it came out to $10.12. So we've plugged that in to the steps of figuring out our break-even analysis. The fourth step is now figuring out our direct costs per month. And the way you do that is you use formulas. One of the great things about break-even analysis is that there are plenty of formulas that help you determine all your various costs and how to figure out the cost and the totals. So in this case, in order to figure out your direct cost per month, you must multiply 1012 times 630. So $10.12 times 630 pairs of shoes. And that gives you a total of $6,375. Then the fifth thing that we did is plug in the indirect cost, which we determined in slide 9. In this slide, we want to determine the total amount of sales that Lee's Shoe Shop must have in order to determine the price. In this case, you would add your direct cost to your indirect cost, and the total for that is $10,625. Several things are happening in this guide. The first thing we have to do is understand that we're just trying to figure out our break-even point. So the break-even point is 0. You're not losing money, you're not making money. So we've plugged in a 0 in net profit. The second thing that we want, the The eighth thing that we want to do after that is figure out our unit price. The unit price, the formula for unit price is sales per month divided by unit per month. And the unit price, as you can see there, is $16.86. Then the next thing we have to figure out in order to completely fill out this guide is your gross profit, and that's very easy. Once you have your unit price, which is $16.86, and you've already plugged in your direct cost, which is $10.12, you take $16.86, take $10.12 away from that, and then you have $6.74, and that is your gross profit. And to determine your gross profit per month, you take $6.74 and multiply that into $630, and you have $4,250, which, as you see there, matches your indirect cost. And you're back at zero. So you've not lost money and you haven't made any money. You've covered all of your cost. Before we go deeper into what break-even analysis can do for your business, I want to handle some frequently asked questions, just right off the bat. How do I handle the different products and services within my business? As I'd said before, perform a break-even analysis for each of your services or product that you sell or produce. How does a break-even analysis make my business more productive? Well, here's an example. If you know the break-even for your different items and services, then you can make better financial decisions. For example, if you're a catering company and had to choose between two jobs, a corporate event or a bridal event, and you knew that the bridal event yield more profit, then you'd make a smarter choice of producing the bridal event if your company could not do both due to time or space limitation. If I've never had any sales, how do I know how to price? Research your competitors, look up pricing in your trade journals, visit trade shows, sell something and see how fast it sells or how slow it sells. An example that I find very interesting is the Tungsten E handheld. It's been at $199 for 2 years, no sales. Demand met supply. When needed, how do I cut cost? Start with your indirect costs where you can reduce and see where you can reduce or eliminate certain costs. For example, magazine publications, you may use a library. Reducing your marketing expenses and maybe using an e-marketing scheme. Avoid cutting your direct costs because it might affect your quality. In the next few slides, we're going to show you how varying cost and different prices affect your profit. In this business, the net profit is $168.44. This business, the owner of this business is not satisfied with that amount. It's a very low amount and they'd like to do more. Now, how do you do that? Currently, they're charging $150 for a 18 by 15 room, 2 coats of paint. And they do 88 rooms per month. And this is how much the net profit they end up with. Now, if we look at the next slide, you'll see that when this business raises the price to $180, still does 88 rooms per month, same size of room, 2 coats of paint, the net profit jumps considerably. Net profit right now at this price is $2,808.44. Now, raising the price has its ups and downs. If your current customers are okay with the price, then you can make this money. But if they're not, then you might have to target a different customer base. But this shows you how your pricing can affect your net profit. In this example, the same business keeps the original price, but increases the amount of rooms that they do to 154 rooms per month. And the indirect cost goes up a little bit more, about 37%. The net profit, it's still considerable, close to $2,000 a net profit per month. In alternative C, you see that she raised the price and raised the amount of her unit per month to 154 and raised the amount to 180 per room. Increased the price 20% from the status quo, kept the room at $154 rooms per month, and keeps her indirect cost goes up 37%, and see the considerable amount of net profit this business is able to make. $6,000. This slide shows you the different calculations that this business did in order to figure out the direct cost per month in all those different alternatives. As you can see, there was a bit of a cut in direct cost, but it did not affect her quality. Because she was doing a lot more rooms, she had to hire more people. But she was able to cut some costs too. So she was able to still cut her direct cost and keep her quality. And that's very important as you determine your break-even analysis. Be very careful in order not to cut your direct cost to affect the quality of your business. Because remember, your direct costs are the costs that are directly related to the provision of providing that service or product. And we have the same example here for your indirect cost for this particular business. The indirect cost actually went up in alternative B and C. You're able to shuffle things around and make sure that you're covering all your costs, but you're also providing the service that you need, and you have the help that you need. And so for this business, they were able to get the help that they need, provide the service adequately, and add some of the important services such as workman comp. As more people work for you, you have to pay more workman comp, so they had to make provision for that. They also had to make provisions for just contingency, for things that they can't really foresee but may incur. And so you want to put in a cushion, and the best place to put in a cushion is in your indirect cost and not your direct cost. The owner also added a few more dollars for salary and training of new employees and helping them understand what needed to get done. Because the employees were doing such a great job, she also added employees fringe benefits, better fringe benefits, so that they're able to be satisfied at their job. So that added a few more dollars to her indirect cost. There were some bookkeeping fees that also increased, and equipment such as overalls, safety shoes, etc. And you can see there's a huge jump in indirect costs, but they did not affect her ability to make substantial net profit. That is the end of my presentation. And now we have questions.
Okay, and the calculating per unit of sale. I'm trying to put this in a business that I'm developing that uses curling tape, it uses styrofoam, it uses crepe paper. So I'm trying to relate this to that type of business, and the calculation of the direct cost and the unit of sale. Figuring out the unit of sale is where, this whole part just became blurry to me.
Okay, so let's I mean, there's a reason why I sort of went through it may have appeared quickly because each scenario is going to be very different per business. So this is very good. So let's just do it right now. What exactly are you wanting to sell? If I were to come to you and say, I want a particular service, how would you describe that service?
Okay, it's a gift. It's a gift item that you want to give to someone. You want to make someone happy. So I'm providing you the service of developing the gift, which is a gift basket type of item, and you're going to share, whatever experience you're having with the person you want to give it to. So my gift item is just going to be the way you're going to say, whatever you want to say.
So okay, see, this is why this is very important. So what exactly are you selling?
Okay, should I go into the full detail?
And this is why this is again so important, is because you want to be able to tell me exactly what you're saying in less than 30 seconds.
Okay. I use clowns as my theme. So I basically say, you give someone a clown, okay, you get a smile back.
So your service is a clown?
It's a clown. It's a clown gift basket.
It's a clown gift basket.
That has clown cookies in it. I wish I would have bought it because I think it looks better than trying to describe it.
But you see why this is so important? Because you want to be able to describe your product in very fast, in 30 seconds. For example, in one of the examples we said a unit of sale for Martha Stewart Living was one new advertiser. No one has any confusion as to what that means, right? Or one Dell computer. There's no confusion as to what that means. One broiled salmon dinner. No confusion as to what that means. So again, that's the reason why we had those examples, and I actually wanted to leave a lot more time for questions and answers because that's really where you're going to learn a lot. But okay, go ahead. So it's a clown.
Right, it's a clown gift basket. It's decorated with cookies. They're clown cookies.
Okay, we're getting warmer. Okay.
Okay, and I have in the basket, it's a very small disc, about 4 inches in size, and it has crepe paper around it, and it's very decorative. It does the curly ribbon adds to the decoration. So you're going to take that and you're going to, however you want to share your expression with whoever you're giving it to. It's just a gift that
So your unit of sale is a gift basket that has a clown, a sort of a figurine of a clown or a stuffed animal-looking clown.
Yeah, it's a figurine.
It's a figurine of a clown. It has ribbons and cookies, something that you can eat.
Right.
And you would give, and so I, as a potential customer, would come to you to buy this gift basket to then give it to someone that I think would enjoy such a product. Okay. So then, so that's your unit of sale. That is what you are selling. And so your direct costs, right, are the cost that goes into putting together that basket. So the figurine is one of your costs, one of your direct costs. That basket is one of your direct costs. The cookie that you put in it is a direct cost.
So how do I figure in the labor in there?
So if you were to pay someone to put together the baskets for you, how much would you pay them?
I'm thinking minimum wage.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's a labor cost. Okay. So let's say $5 an hour.
Okay.
And how many hours does it take to make this one figurine?
It takes less than an hour
Okay.
to do it. A lot less than an hour, maybe about, at the most, 15 minutes.
So then you would divide, you would figure out the per per minute cost. So you would take $5, let's say, and divide it into 60, right? And then that amount, you would multiply it by how many minutes it takes to make the basket.
And that would be.
And that would give you your labor cost per unit price, per unit of sale.
Okay. Okay. Now I see how I can do it.
See?
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
No, I just
Okay.
happened to get lost on that part, I'm fine.
Okay.
Hi, I have a question. Earlier you were talking about pricing and doing some research, like from researching your competitors, looking in trade journals. So I was wondering, could you expand on that? Like, because I've never priced services before and I want to go into computer services business and not sure how to set my pricing.
Okay. Well, let's kind of get some background. What is your unit of price? What exactly are you trying to sell?
Computer support services.
What does that mean? I mean, I have no idea what that means. It doesn't give me a visual at all.
Fix your PC if it's.
That's better. Okay.
Card in your PC if it's not working or something.
So, and how would you do this? So you would, do you come to my home? Do you come to my office? Do I come to you?
I'm thinking like it would be going to your office.
Okay.
It's for small business.
So you would come in, if I had a problem with my PC, whatever it may be.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
are you-
it's that type of service, installing software, operating system.
Okay, so more installation, less maintenance?
Yeah, like more to do with applications, but also I can fix a card or something if I have to look at network issues or something.
Okay, okay. And do you have experience in this industry at all?
Just computer hobbies. I'm in a different field and moving over to this field.
And do you know of other companies? Are there other companies that are doing the same thing that you're doing? And have you done some research on that?
Not, like, I don't know anybody else who's doing it, but I've just seen flyers or, just small ads and stuff like that. So.
Do you read computer trade journals, and do you keep up with the computer industry here in New York City, for example, where I assume is where your customer?
Today I attended a trade show.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I didn't know I didn't even know what to ask about pricing, and this was.
Well, I mean, researching your competitors, just basic. Obviously, you have competitors. There are hundreds of businesses that are doing exactly what you're wanting to do. So you can go into the yellow pages. You can go on the internet and do a search for companies that install or fix hardware and things like that, and you can shop them. You can go in and say, I have such and such problem. How much would it cost to solve it? And you can do that for a number of businesses that you'll be competing. That you'll be, you're all competing for the same customers. So you would act as a customer, and you would do that for a handful of potential competitors. So that's one way.
So you're not recommending I get it from my trade journals or something?
Oh, no, I'm just saying, so that's one way. Oh, the other way is obviously, with your trade journals. I mean, you could read up on what people are charging for those services in trade journals, going to trade shows in this industry. I mean, I can think of actually several companies that you can actually walk in right now and say, I'd love to, I have this need with my computer, could you help me? And they can give you a price. I mean, that's very easy to find, very, very easy to find. And just really ask around. What industry are you in now?
In accounting field.
In accounting field, okay. Okay. And where you work, who fixes the computers there?
They outsource the work, like they had just put in another IT company that, that's just behind the scenes, so I don't really know it too well. So.
And you could probably talk to them too. Yeah, and you can talk to the people that they used before. So you have all these resources around you. It's not very difficult to find out what your competitors are charging or what the industry is charging. The other thing that I want to mention is in determining in researching your cost, or your price, you want to understand what your market is going to be. Who are you going to be targeting? Your target market. Who is it going to be? Because there's a difference between servicing a huge company like IBM and then servicing, a small nonprofit. I mean, you didn't mention that you're going to focus on small business, but small businesses range. I mean, some small businesses have an annual sales of $5 million and they're considered small, and others have an annual sale of $50,000. So obviously what they're able to pay for those services is going to be different. So it's going to be very important for you to determine which spectrum, which side of the spectrum you want to focus on. And then that's going to help you determine who your competitors are.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Is that good? Hi.
I was wondering if you can expand a little bit on how you would calculate break-even when you sell more than one thing, when you have
That's a
more
good
units
question.
of sales or like different products, and also how do you look at break-even by product, or do you look at break-even by all the sales, and how do you determine which of those things you want to sell more of if they have a higher margin?
Right. All very good questions. Obviously, to answer some of those questions, we would need a chalkboard and some, a board and to sort of work it out. But a few things. One, break-even is always per product or per service. So you can't do a break-even on those row of vegetables. You have to figure out how much your cauliflower is bringing you. I mean, and just to sort of to illustrate a point. I mean, it doesn't have to be not nitpicky, but you can't do a break even on those set of cars. I can tell you that Ford Motor Company knows exactly how much each type of car, the cost for each type of car, and how much each type of car is bringing to them. Right? Literally the net profit per, and that's why they can say this type of car is the most profitable. This kind of a car is the most profitable because they've done a break-even analysis on each car. So break-even, it's always on the per item or per service. Now, if you have, let's say, 3 products, then you would need to do a break-even analysis on each product. And now the question you haven't asked, but I think is sort of underlining is how do you then determine your indirect cost?
Right, because you have fixed costs to sell all the 3 products.
Exactly.
Only one of them.
Exactly. And the way you do that is first of all, if you've never sold before, it's going to be hard to determine how much your unit of sale is paying towards your indirect cost. But after some experience, you'll be able to know that the cauliflower pays about 20%, brings in 20% of the revenue, and therefore pays 20% of my indirect cost. Okay? My carrots bring 30% of the revenue, and therefore pays 30% of my indirect cost, therefore my rent, because your rent goes to everything, right? Your utilities go to everything. So that's how you would figure it out. You would allocate a certain percentage to your indirect cost from those unit of sales.
So if you were to start a new business, you would just make a projection or an estimate of how much revenues are going to come in from jewelry, how much revenue you think is going to come in from dresses, and how much it's going to come in from gift cards, if these are the 3 things that you're planning on selling. Like if you didn't open the store yet, but you want to estimate your break even, that's how you would do it. You would estimate 20% of the sales would be dresses.
Well, it should be based on it shouldn't just be a guess. I mean, if you're starting a new business, you should have a sense of what your hot item is going to be based on your research, right? So because you've already done the research, hopefully, and and typically people launch an item or a dress, and this is the dress I'm going to launch, and I'm going to see how much money it's going to bring, and it's going to help me determine how much if sometimes your one item is paying for everything because it's just bringing so much money. And this is very typical in a lot of businesses where you walk into a store and they do have that one hot item that, that everybody buys and everything else is sort of sitting around. So yes, you make educated guesses if you haven't started your business because you've done the research and you've done the market research and you know what's going to sell, you hope. Yeah.
My name is Eric Tolman.
Hi, Eric.
With Twigcraft, and I'm in the business of making handmade twig lampshades. My question is on...
Oh, hold on. You see, that was a great unit of sale. He said it, and everybody got it, right? That's how you have to be for your business. You have to just, within 2 seconds, I know, I have a visual of what you're selling. If you don't have that, then forget about indirect costs or direct costs. You're not going to get very far. So
My name is Eric Tolman. My business is called Twigcraft, and I'm in the business of manufacturing and selling handmade twig lampshades. My question is paying the owner. That's me.
that's a good question.
I see here that the 10% of the owner's salary is sitting in indirect costs, and that's for administrative, that's for research, market research, and supplies, ordering supplies. That's an indirect. Do I pay myself a direct cost when I'm actually making lampshades and an indirect cost when I'm ordering materials and supplies and researching?
Yes. So you just answered the question. Absolutely. That's one great way to do it. Obviously, talk to your accountant, talk to your business advisor, but that sounds like a great way to allocate your labor cost. Eric, could you pay someone to do the lampshade, or do you have a specific way of doing it that you have to do it? I couldn't do it. You couldn't really teach me to do it.
I currently am paying one other person.
Okay.
I have an assistant
Okay.
partner to make lampshades with me.
Okay. So and you're paying that person in indirect or direct?
That's direct cost.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
So when the owner is actually making the item, and in this case, in Eric's case, when he's making the lampshade, that labor cost goes into direct cost. When he is making phone calls, paying his bills, and doing all these other administrative things, those labor costs need to go into indirect cost.
This is specifically in relation to what's on the board here. I see that 10% of the owner's salary is for selling, estimating, and administrative, and 10% of the owner's salary is for training and supervising. Where is the other 80% of the owner's salary on this break-even analysis?
Shouldn't have left this up so long. You wouldn't be scrutinizing it. It's going into direct cost, and she did it by an per hour basis because that's how she paints, right? So she does it I'm sorry, she doesn't do it per. She's choosing to do it in a per hour basis to determine her cost, but she obviously paints a room, however long it takes her to paint that room, using 2 coats. So it goes into her direct cost. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Victoria, and I'm the owner of a small business.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Actually, I'm a business owner.
Yes, you are. It's not small. It's big to you.
I just launched my company. I'm from Paris, and
Tu parles français?
and even before targeting, I already got 3 clients, big clients. Architects from Geneva, a big company in media and television, and they want to implement themselves here in Chicago, and they plan to purchase a company in Chicago. So I'm the middleman here, and I'm helping
The middle woman.
middle woman here, and helping them to purchase this company. But now here I am. I don't know if I have to charge them per hour or per the project, because my goal is becoming a shareholder in the future. So
Help me understand the exact service. Just kind of like the way Eric
Yeah.
Help me understand, what service are you providing to these companies?
I'm providing to this particular company the business analysis, competitors analysis, and doing some accountant and being in touch with the law firm. And I'm the middle woman, so I'm doing everything of this company. I mean, I'm directing, I'm giving orders.
So you're doing a lot. You're doing what they would have to do if they were here.
Exactly.
But because they're in Geneva,
No, they are in Paris.
they're in Paris,
Yes.
you're having to do the work here for them.
It's like I am the owner of this company
Here.
here. Yes. So I don't know if today
Definitely not per hour. Well,
I'm in a big dilemma. Because
that is a dilemma.
They
Okay.
don't know that I will become a shareholder. So
They don't know that.
Not yet. It's
And so how were you going to approach this? How were you going to ask them about this? I mean, how were you going to approach
actually, I
them?
want to become indispensable.
Well, okay, indispensable is very different from a shareholder.
Yes, right now, because they need me,
Right.
because they have nobody here that they can trust.
Are you bringing capital?
Yes, I'm going to bring just a small amount of capital, but in the future. So right now, my goal is having an income,
Sure.
a fixed income per month. But I don't know, I have two dilemmas actually. Do I have to calculate per hour, means 8 hours a day, and it's going to be a big amount and I don't want to scale them? Or do I have to
Per project.
yeah, per project? I really don't know because it's a big project.
Just based on gut and intellect, I would say per project. And I would break it up in three. I'd say, I assume that there's a timeline. There's a start to this and there's an end. And so, you can do it in half. You can say, I need half, and with half, you'll get this. And after that's completed, at the end of this project, I'll get the other half. So, I would do it in thirds.
What do you mean by the first part and the second part and third?
Right, so,
What do you mean by that?
oh, okay.
Because here I am like the vice president of this French company here and trying to purchase this company. So I'm doing a lot of research and I have friends, I have good connections with some friends that are bankers, I have lawyers, whatever, but I don't pay them because they're friends, so they give me free advice, So I'm taking advantage of all those, friends.
For regard, right.
Now I don't charge them anything, but I have to tell them, guys, I did a lot of research. I spent that much time,
Right.
but I don't know. Again, I really don't know how much I have to charge them right now.
Okay, but so good. There's two questions. Not knowing how much you want to charge is one issue, but figuring out how you should charge them is another issue. So let's start with the first one, which is how should you charge them? I think you should do it per project, and you can maybe the easiest way to, because you need some money up front because you're doing the work, as you just illustrated. And whether or not you're paying your friends, you're doing the work. You're doing the research, you're calling, you're talking to them, you're figuring it out. So typically, you're a consultant, and a lot of times consultants will, for example, we hired an event planner at Weibo, and she gave me a list of all the things she's going to do and when she's going to do them, very clearly. And the agreement is that I pay her half of her amount, and then at the end of the session, when we're done with the event, she gets the other half of the amount that she requested. But I'm confident that everything's going to get done because she's given me a timeline. I'm going to get this research done. I'm going to send out this many letters. I'm going to talk to this many people. I'm going to send, so it's very clear. So that you may want to think of it that way because there are steps that you need to take, research. There are people you need to talk to. You need to write all those things down in order to get this company here and settled and ready to go. There are bookkeepers, there's bankers you have to talk to, there are attorneys, I mean, all of these things.
I
So,
always send them the draft, but right now, I don't know how to approach them because also they are friends. So it's really difficult to work with friends because they think everything is for free. So that's really.
oh, well, no, you remember, didn't you say you were a business person? I mean, that's the first thing you said when you went up
You
there.
don't know Frenchies.
But you're a business person, right?
Yes, I know.
You have to put on your business person hat. And that's why writing it down and putting together a proposal makes it very formal. I mean, you have to sign. Just like in my case, I have to sign. I like this lady. She's now becoming a very good friend. But you know what? It's business. You have to sign on the dotted line. You give them a proposal, they sign, you sign. A check is exchanged for the work that you've done, and then another check is going to come after you're done with all your work. That's how I would do it. Now, I don't know that this is a forum for us to determine all the things you're going to do and how much you should charge for them. I mean, that you need to do research on. There are lots of companies that do exactly what you're doing, which is help companies from other countries come into a new country and set up. There's lots of those, particularly here in New York City and some of the major cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, etc. So you can do some research around these type of consultants and how much they charge, and sort of figure out, you know, where you fit in that range. And also you could probably do some research on companies in Paris, in Geneva, who have set up shop here in the United States and how much they charge, how much they paid for that service. So the information is out there. But to answer your first problem, I'd say make a very formal proposal. If you have, do you have letterhead? I mean, really, yeah, all of those things. I mean, it needs to be very, very formal. You need to have a meeting in which you don't discuss nothing but this proposal. You literally go through it, whether it's over the phone or in person. Right. And then you say, these are my terms, this is how much I need half now, and then half at the end of this project, etc. And so I think once you've done this many times, you could become a shareholder. I mean, you want to be indispensable now, right? Right? But later on, you could become a shareholder, you know, particularly if you bring capital. And I would also imagine after you're finished with this project, bringing it in, setting it up, you may have other projects that come up after that, maybe from the same company. Again, you need to sort of couch it as, oh, okay, for that project, let me put together a proposal for you, and that's going to cost X amount of dollars. Like, you know, because a lot of times, and I think we've all dealt with, for example, webmasters, when you're trying to build a web page, they give you the amount, and the amount is going to make the web do this. But then as you're going through it, you decide, oh, I actually need something else, and I actually need something else, and I need something else. Well, a smart business person, on the other hand, will say, hey, stop. Let me finish what we just said that we're going to do, and then these other additional things that you want, that's going to cost you a whole separate amount of money. You know what I mean? That's how you sort of have to do it, because I can imagine you can tag on a lot of things to this type of service that you're providing.
But the thing is, I don't want to scare them by, you know, charging them an amount of money and afterwards coming back and saying, oh, guys, you know, I can be your shareholders, because I wanted them to ask me for that.
Well, I see, I wouldn't worry about the whole shareholder thing. I would worry about delivering this service excellently. Okay. That's what I would worry about. And don't worry about pricing. If you've done your research, give the price, and that's what it is.
But I already started to work for them for 3 weeks. And
for free?
For free? I mean, for free. No, not free, because I told them many times, guys, you know, I think you pay your employees, so I need also to pay my, you know, my rents and everything, so nobody works for free. I don't think so. And
well, you've been very informal about it. I think you need to...
I try to explain to them, I'm going to take care of it, but because I have a business, so they have to pay for it. So
well, start being very formal.
Yeah,
start being very formal.
Anyway, so that's the first part. So I have 2 other clients, because I work in the pharmaceutical industry as a business development director for big laboratories. And I have a client also specialized in the pharmaceutical industry. So they want to come here, but again, I don't know how I have to charge them per hour, because I'm going to implement a business strategy to expand their business here in the US. So it's going to take me like 3 weeks. So I don't know but maybe it's going to take me 2 months. We never know, that's the problem. Because I'm just starting this business, I don't know how long it's going to take me.
My gut and intellect says do it based on project. But if a project, if you sort of, just because you've been in this business, you know enough of it, if you know it's just going to take you a day maybe to write a quick proposal for them, then you can have a per hour price. But if it's going to be anything that takes more than 3 days, to me it sounds like a project.
Yeah.
And so you should I think you should focus on pricing it as projects and less so as an hourly rate, and only charge hourly rates when it's, it could maybe just take you a day or two to get it done. You do it and then you learn, right? Obviously, if you thought a project's going to take you 3 weeks and it takes you 3 months, I mean, you're really off the mark. Well, okay, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. You've learned. Next time the similar project comes along, you'll know how much time it will take and you'll charge accordingly. Right. So don't be afraid for, trial and error. Just do it. Just make the commitment and then see what happens and then learn from it.
Right, a question, I was told that I can get some information about companies here.
Absolutely.
What can I get here?
Well, let's talk about that offline.
Okay.
And Betty can tell you more.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Steve Michelle. I'm the owner of a nonprofit bank. My question is, what does WEBO stand for? What exactly do you guys do? Is that a service you guys provide, or just the information?
We are a full nonprofit organization. The Workshop in Business Opportunities. That's acronym. For the acronym, the Workshop in Business Opportunities, and we have a 16-week workshop called How to Build a Growing Profitable Business. And what I presented to you today is actually a 4-week break-even analysis session, which I've condensed in 40 minutes. But yeah, it's a very rigorous program. During break-even, we would be sitting around a table with paper and pencil and just doing a lot of calculations. So this, again, but in this forum, obviously, we couldn't do that. But we have a 16-week workshop. We teach marketing, sales, break-even analysis, cash flow, all the nuts and bolts of running a business. Welcome.
I wanted to follow up on the last question. In terms of the workshop that you offer, who might benefit the most from it? Someone who is, because I hear a lot of questions here being asked that give me the impression that the initial research hasn't been done. And so when someone comes to your workshop, are they better able to receive the information if they've already done the initial research on what they're doing and they're already in motion with their business? Or is it best for someone who is shifting gears in their business and going to either high income level or maybe a different product?
That's a good question. The workshop is really good for everybody. You're going to get more out of the workshop if you know a lot about the business that you're getting into. That's really key because we ask you a lot of questions. And if you're not clear about the business that you want to get into, or if you haven't done as much research as possible, or you don't have a lot of experience in the business that you want to get into, you just have that much more work to do. But we'll ask you the question. If you haven't done the research, we'll ask you the questions, and you'll have to go out and do the research so that you can find out more about the business. But for you, it's going to be a lot more interesting if you started selling, you started coming to the library and doing your research, you started talking to your competitors, like you really got the ball rolling. And then when you come to us, your eyes are just going to open. But it's the workshop is good for anyone that has a specific business idea that they know they want to start, or someone who's already in business. A lot of people who are already in business find our workshop invaluable because they've tried a lot of things, they have worked out a lot of things, and when they come to the workshop, they discover, oh, okay, I know, now I understand why that didn't work. Or now I understand why it worked. Because, you know, in this workshop it says this is a good thing to do for your business.
Mimi, I'd like to thank you for spending time with us this evening and for those really great answers to the questions. And thank you all very much for coming to the library tonight. And good night to all.
Oh, thank you.